Good morning, children. Stay safely at home and do all the study related work properly. So, I have already discussed the motional EMF induced across a conductor due to its motion in a magnetic field. Alright. And I hope you can remember that when you have taken the conductor was moving with a linear velocity v, and the induced EMF developed, it was given by BLV. Alright. So, why the EMF developed? Because the conductor, it cut some magnetic flux, and that's why I have, while giving the practical example, I told you this also, that when a player moves in the run in the north-south direction, then no induced EMF will develop across the ends of the body of the player, due to the fact that in that case the body is not cutting any magnetic flux. Okay, so we will apply the same concept here, but in this case you see what we have taken, the conductor is not moving with a linear velocity as I, so you just follow my hand, it was moving like this, isn't it, in the magnetic field, and that's why it was cutting the flux, because magnetic field was in the perpendicularly inward direction. It was inward and perpendicular to the whiteboard. Now in this case what we have taken, we have taken one conductor and it is rotating in the magnetic field. So you see, when it is rotating in the magnetic field, then also it is cutting a magnetic flux, isn't it? So what will happen? EMF will develop at the ends of the conductor. So let us calculate it. So you see here in this case I have considered this way, that OP is the initial position of the conductor of length L, and then it rotates in time dt and come to the position OQ. So PQ is the displacement, alright, and by the time it is making an angle, this is not phi, this is theta, making an angle d theta at the one end of the rod, one end of the fixed point on the rod, alright. So in this case you see, what is the area the rod is describing in time dt? dA means it is the area of the triangle OPQ. So you can say what will be the area of the triangle OPQ? Half OP into PQ. Alright. Now what is OP? OP is L, and you see, if you apply the concept that S is equal to arc is equal to radius into angle, S is equal to R theta, one can write PQ is equal to L d theta. Alright. So if I substitute, then what is the area coming? L square by 2 d theta. Here I have considered only the magnitude. So you see, what will be the induced EMF then? Induced EMF is d phi b dt. Here I have given the modular sign so that we can neglect the negative sign here, because negative sign, you know, it has no role in case of magnitude. Negative sign only indicates about the direction of the induced EMF developed. Alright. So that's why I have just written it within the modular sign. It means that we are writing only the magnitude of the EMF. Direction is not considered here. So E is equal to d phi b dt, and you know phi b is equal to b into a, actually BA cos theta. Now what is the angle cos theta here? 0 degree. So it is 1. So you can take b outside the derivative. Why you can take b outside the derivative? Because it is a constant quantity here. It's a uniform magnetic field we have considered. So after that you substitute what is A. A is L square by 2 d theta. Alright. Again L is the length of the conductor, which is not depending on time. So you can take it outside the derivative. So you are getting B L square by 2, then d theta dt. Now what is d theta dt? Theta is the angular displacement of the rotating rod. So d theta dt will be the angular velocity omega of the rod. So you see, what is the induced EMF or motional EMF? You can say developed across a rotating rod. It is given by half B L square omega. Here B is the magnetic field, L is the length of the conductor and omega is the angular velocity of the conductor. Now if you consider that the rod is not rotating about its one end. Suppose the rod is rotating in the anti-clockwise direction about its midpoint. In that case, what will happen? In that case, you can write VA minus VC will be 0. Means across the end of the rod, because you see with respect to OC, the motion is in this direction, and when you are considering OA, it is in this direction. So what will happen? VA minus VC across the ends of the conductor, the EMF developed, it will be 0. But if you consider that VO minus VC, means you just consider VO minus VC here, then what it will be? It will be half BL square. Okay, now what is L here? L is the entire length, isn't it? So in this case, it will be L by 2 whole square omega. Means it will be half B, and here it will come 1 by 4 into 2, means it will become 8 BL square omega. Alright, and remember that midpoint will be at higher potential. Means VO, instead of writing, okay, I can write midpoint O is at higher potential. Is that clear? Now, if the rod rotates in the clockwise direction, then what will happen? End points will be at higher potential. So if the rod rotates across its one end, then the induced EMF is half B L square omega. But if it rotates about its midpoint, then what will happen? The this one induced EMF developed will be 1 by 8 B L square omega. So you remember all the final result at least. Now next concept is self-induction. What is self-induction? If you want to understand, then suppose you have taken one coil and it is connected to a battery along with the tap key. Alright. Now you see, when the key is off, then what is happening? The current passing through the coil, it is 0, and you know when current passes through a circular loop of coil, then it produces a magnetic field. Alright, we have studied about this already in the previous chapter. So in this case, what is happening? Just understand it. When the key is off, then no current is passing through the coil. So the magnetic flux linked with the coil is 0. Now, the moment you will press the key, then what will happen? The current will start flowing within it, isn't it? So, the moment current will start flowing within the coil, then magnetic flux linked with the coil will increase from 0 to certain definite value, isn't it? So, what will happen? Induction, electromagnetic induction will take place, and an EMF, as the circuit is closed, induced current will be produced within it, which will oppose the cause. So what is the cause? Cause is current is growing in the circuit. Alright. So it will, the induced current, it will delay the growth of the current in the circuit. Alright. So this is known as the self-induction. Clear? So what is self-induction? Self-induction, you can say this way, that due to change in current in the coil itself, the production of induced EMF within the coil, which opposes the growth of current in the coil, is known as the self-induction. Alright, now this definition of self-induction you don't have to learn. Now in this case, you see what is happening, that if you consider phi b be the magnetic flux linked with each turn, and if there are n number of turns, then n phi b is the total magnetic flux linked with the coil. So this will be proportional to the induced current produced, or you can say it is proportional to the current passing through it. So you can write n phi b is equal to L into I. this constant of proportionality L is very important. This is known as coefficient of self-induction. Coefficient of self-induction, or it is also known as self-inductance. It is also known as self-inductance of the coil. Alright, so in this case you see what is L? L is coming N phi B divided by I. Alright, how you can write, what will be the self-inductance L? Self-inductance L is equal to N phi B divided by I. So how you can define the self-inductance? You see here, if I is equal to 1, then L is equal to N phi B. So you can define this way. When unit current flows through the coil, then the total magnetic flux linked with the coil gives the measure of coefficient of self-induction of the coil. So this definition you must learn. Alright, verbally I am saying, I am not writing. You must write it yourself. So how you can define? You see, start with I equal to 1 means when unit current passes through the coil, then the total magnetic flux linked with the coil gives the measure of coefficient of self-induction of the coil. Now you see, from the concept of induced EMF, again you can define L. How you can define? You know that induced EMF is given by, according to Faraday's law, minus dN phi B dt. Now you see, from this relation, N phi B is equal to L into I. So you can write it will be d dt into L into I, but as I said, L is constant for a particular coil of particular dimension. So you can take L outside the derivative. So it will be E is equal to minus L di dt. So you see, L you can write E by di dt, and when di dt equal to 1, then L is equal to minus E. Alright, so how you can define L? That coefficient of self-induction of a coil is equal to the EMF induced in it when the rate of change of current through the coil is unity. I repeat, this definition of coefficient of self-induction or self-inductance also you must learn. So what is the definition? I said that coefficient of self-induction is equal to the EMF induced in the coil when the rate of change of current, electric current passing through the coil is equal to unity. Alright, so these two definition of coefficient of self-induction is an important point for your board exam. You must learn it. Now, SI unit of coefficient of self-induction is Henry, and if you use the abbreviation, then it should be capital. Now, from this relation, L is equal to E di dt. You see, when L is 1 Henry, E is 1 volt, and di dt will be 1 ampere per second. So, 1 Henry you can write it as 1 volt second per ampere. Alright, because second per second, when it will move up, it will become second, and ampere as it is in the denominator, it will become ampere to the power minus 1. Again we know L, one can write N phi B by I also, isn't it? This is the original one from the previous discussion you have got already. So 1 Henry is equal to phi B is Weber, okay, and I is ampere. So 1 Henry you can write Weber per ampere also. So you see, 1 Henry means the coefficient of self-inductance, self-induction. 1 Henry is equal to 1 volt second per ampere, Weber per ampere. Another one you can just write volt per ampere. Volt per ampere is equal to how much? Ohm. I hope you can remember. V is equal to IR, isn't it? So V by I is equal to R. So you can write ohm second. So these are the relations you are supposed to remember and retain for your board exam related with the unit of coefficient of self-inductance. Now the self-induction of a long solenoid. Very simple, very easy derivation. You know, for a solenoid, what is the magnetic field? field given by it, mu 0 n by L. N by L, you can use this one also, that n by L is the number of turns per unit length, small n. Okay, so mu 0 n by L into I. So what will be the magnetic flux linked with it? Linked with each turn of the coil, it will be B dot A, means BA, to cos 0 degree 1. So you can write it as mu 0 n by L IA into B. B I have forgotten. Sorry, B is not there. In place of B, you have substituted this one, mu 0 n by L into I and into A. Okay, so that is the magnetic flux linked with the each turn of the solenoid. So you see, what will be the coefficient of self-induction or self-inductance of the solenoid L? It will be n phi b by I. So if you substitute phi b, you see here another n is there. So it will be n mu 0 nia by L into I here in the denominator. I cancel. So you are getting mu 0 n square A by L. So this is the relation you must remember. This is the self-inductance of a long solenoid. So you see, from this discussion we have seen that whenever there is a solenoid, there is a coil of several turns, and when current passes through it, then what will happen? Electromagnetic induction will take place, and due to which it will oppose the growth of current, decay of current in the circuit. That's why this kind of coil or solenoid, they are known as inductor. Remember, the straight conductor, it offers resistance, so we call them resistor. These are the terms now you have to learn, you have to understand, and these are the terms we will use in the next chapter. So that's why I am saying it, that conductors, they offer the resistance, straight conductors, so we call them resistor. Okay, and what are inductors? Inductors are the coils. Okay, coils having several turns, through which when you are passing the current, then what will happen? Induction will take place. I will discuss another kind of induction, mutual induction also. So either self-induction or mutual induction will take place, means you can associate one term with each this kind of coil, that is coefficient of self-induction or coefficient of mutual induction. That's why these kind of coils are termed as, known as inductor. Now you see what is the energy stored in an inductor. We have done, I hope you can remember, that when we charge a capacitor, then slowly when we add charge to it, then also during this process the capacitor get energized. Okay, and I hope you can remember the energy stored in a charge capacitor is given by half CV square or Q square by 2C. Like that, when current grows in an inductor, then what happens? The energy is stored. Certain work has to be done during this process, and that work done will be stored as energy within the inductor. Alright. Now, how you can calculate what will be the energy stored in the inductor? Now, if you consider at any instant of time, the EMF induced in the inductor is given by minus L di dt. Okay. So, what will be the work done? Work done, you know, EMF into the charge added to it. So, if you consider at any instant of time, dq charge is, extra charge is added to the inductor or passing through the inductor, then you can write dw will be equal to minus E dq. So, you see here, if you put the substitute E, then it is coming L di dt dq. Now, you can rearrange the terms. You can write it dq dt di. Now, dq dt is what? I. So, you are getting what is the work done? Li di. So, you see, this is the small work done in adding small charge dq, in sending small amount of current through it. So, what will be the total work done? You have to integrate it from 0 to w dw, and here What will be the limits of integration for Li di? It will be on I, the initial value is I0, and if you consider the final value of I, means the maximum value of the current is I0, then you see it will be 0 to I0 Li di. Now integration I di is how much? I square by 2. So you can write, I hope you can remember the formula, integration x dx, how much? X square by 2. So here integration I di, how much it will be? I square by 2. So you are getting L I square by 2. Now put the limit, sorry, here it is 0. Put the limit I0 to 0, then it will become L I0 square by 2 minus 0. So you see what will be the energy stored within the inductor? It is equal to the work done in sending the maximum current I0 equal to half L I0 square. So the derivation as well as the final formula you must learn, practice, remember, retain till the board exam gets over. Now the application of self-induction in our day-to-day life. Now in the practical lab you use the resistance coil. Okay, you use the resistance box, you use the standard resistance, and as I already discussed in the lower classes that inside the standard resistance what is there? There is a coil, okay, which is carrying the current and which is having certain resistance. So in this case you see when the coil is wound over a insulating material, then just to avoid the self-induction, it is always wound in a manner that self-induction will be 0 in the coil. Alright, so for that doubly wound coils are used. So understand it. Suppose this is the first binding screw. From this point the coil is getting inside, then it is coming from it, then it is going back, follow the pen, going back, so dotted line, then coming above, so this is the one, again going back, so dotted line, because back portion we cannot see, then it is coming like this, okay, arrow is giving the direction of the current through it, then again it is going back, then you see what is done, here a U-turn is taken, and then it is wound in the opposite manner. Here you see when you are taking like this, it was just anti-clockwise, isn't it? Now we will start taking in the clockwise direction. You see, it has taken the U-turn, then it is going behind the insulating cylinder and then coming up like this. So you see the current is moving, again it is going behind and then coming above. So this is the way, you see, doubly wound. Means in this way when you wound the coil, then what is happening, every turn you are getting a parallel turns which are carrying current equal magnitude but opposite in direction. So you see what will happen, magnetic flux due to this one and magnetic field due to this conductor and magnetic field due to this one, they are equal in magnitude but opposite in direction. So what will happen, magnetic field is 0. Understood? So what will happen, a magnetic field 0 means magnetic flux linked with it 0. So there is no question of induction taking place when you put the plug here. You know that you put the plug here, then what will happen, the current will start flowing through it, and in that case induction will not take place, and due to that the current will grow without any resistance, without any opposition. I should not use the term resistance, I should use the term opposition. Means there will be no delay in the growth of current. Alright, this is one condition, one example where we use the concept of self-induction. But in this case remember that we doubly wound the coil on the resistance, this one on the insulating cylinder, so that self-induction, coefficient of self-induction L, we can make it 0. Alright. Then next one, Wheatstone bridge instrument. I hope you can remember the Wheatstone bridge circuit that we are having like this. There is a galvanometer we connect. Now with the galvanometer generally we connect one key, and with the battery we connect one key. Alright. Now in this case what is, so suppose it is the galvanometer key K1 and this is the battery key K2. Now when we introduce the galvanometer, then what we do, first we press the battery key and then we press the galvanometer key. Alright. Otherwise, what will happen? Self-induction will take place, induction will take place, and the galvanometer will not be able to get the, it will be difficult to get the null point due to induction, because you know when EMF induced will be there, then it will oppose the cause. Now why we do this? You see, when you are pressing K2 first, then what is happening? Current will grow in the circuit, will attain the maximum value. Then after that you are pressing K1. So there will be no induction taking place in G. But if you do this, that K1 is pressed first, then K2. Then what will happen? Galvanometer is already in the circuit and then the current will start growing through it. So what will happen? Induction will take place. And when we release the key, then what we do? We release first K1 and then K2. So battery key is pressed first, then the galvanometer key while switching on the circuit, and while switching off the circuit, galvanometer key is switched off first, then the battery key is switched off, just to avoid the induction, electromagnetic induction in the circuit. So these are the practical example in our practical example of application of self-induction in our day-to-day life. Now the concept of mutual induction is coming, that instead of taking only one coil, we have taken two coils here. Just look at it. Across one coil, battery and key and rheostat is connected. It is rheostat. Rheostat is connected. So you see, you can send current through the first coil. So the coil with which the battery, key, everything is connected, that is generally known as the primary coil. And in front of it, another coil is placed in such a way that they are magnetically coupled. Magnetically coupled means what? The magnetic flux linked with the coil, with the primary, the magnetic flux coming out from the primary will pass through the secondary. Alright, just look at it, these coils, these are, means if I just look, place the two coils like this, the two coils are placed like this, okay, one in front of other. So what will happen? The flux coming out from the first, it will pass through the second. But if you place like this, I hope you can see, if you place, consider my hand, if you place like this, then what will happen? The flux coming out from primary will not pass through the secondary. So that is one point you have to remember, that two coils are placed in such a way that they are magnetically coupled. Means when the magnetic flux will come out from the first, it will pass through the secondary. Now in the second coil, you see no source of current is attached, only a galvanometer is connected. So this is known as the secondary coil, and let us term it as 2. Now in this case, you see what you can write. Whenever current will plus, so if you consider that I1 current is passing through the primary, then magnetic field will be produced surrounding it. So magnetic lines of forces will come out, and that magnetic lines of forces will pass through the secondary. So if you consider phi 2 be the magnetic flux with each turn of the secondary, and N2 be the number of turns of the secondary. Remember, whenever it is 2, it corresponds to the secondary coil. So what is phi 2? Magnetic flux linked with the each turn of the secondary, and N2 is the total number of turns of the secondary. So you see, the total magnetic flux linked with the secondary, it is directly proportional to I1. Why? Because when I will increase, then you know what is the magnetic field produced. Magnetic field produced is given by mu 0 Ni. So when I will increase, B will increase. So when B will increase, magnetic flux linked with it will also increase. So the magnetic flux associated with the secondary will also increase. So one can write N2 phi 2 is proportional to I1. Be careful here. N2 phi 2 proportional to I1, not I2, because with secondary there is no induced EMF first. So in this case, you see, you can write N2 phi2 is equal to some constant into I1. That constant we denote it by M, and which is known as coefficient of mutual induction or mutual inductance. So you see, M you can write N2 phi2 by I1. So from this relation it is clear, when I1 equal to 1, then M is equal to N2 phi2. So how you can define mutual induction, coefficient of mutual induction or mutual inductance? Coefficient of mutual induction or mutual inductance is equal to the total magnetic flux linked with the secondary when unit current passes through primary. This definition you must learn. I repeat, what is coefficient of? So you see, follow my finger and follow the expression written. So this mathematical expression, just write it in sentence. You will get the definition of coefficient of mutual induction. So what is coefficient of mutual induction or mutual inductance? It is equal to total magnetic flux linked with the secondary when unit current passes through primary. Alright, so this is one of the definition of coefficient of mutual induction, and just like the self-induction, we can define mutual induction also in terms of induced EMF. So you see, in terms of the induced EMF, because we have seen when there will be a change in current in the primary, and EMF will be induced in the secondary. So according to Faraday's law, how you can write what will be the EMF induced in the secondary? E2 minus d N2 phi2 d2. This is according to Faraday's law. Again, N2 phi2 is equal to M I1. So you can take M outside the derivative. So it, on simplification, I have jumped 2 steps here. So M is equal to E2 by dy1 dt. So if di1 by dt equal to 1, then M is equal to E2. So how you can define coefficient of mutual induction or mutual inductance? Coefficient of mutual induction is equal to EMF induced in the secondary when rate of change of current in the primary is unity. Alright, I repeat. Coefficient of mutual induction is equal to EMF induced in the secondary when the rate of change of current in the primary is equal to unity. So you see, according to this relation, again what is the SI unit of M? M will be Henry. So according to this relation, you can write 1 Henry is equal to 1 volt second per ampere. Again, when if you are writing M is equal to N2 phi2 by I1, then you can write 1 Henry is equal to 1 Weber per ampere. So again you are getting the same relation. 1 Henry is 1 volt per second per ampere, or 1 Weber per ampere, or you can write 1 ohm second. Alright, sometimes you may get 2 marks question like this. So show that 1 Henry is equal to 1 ohm second. Okay, then in that case you have to use this one, that E2 by di1 dt. 1 Henry is 1 volt second per ampere, and then volt per ampere is ohm. So it will come 1 ohm second. Okay, so this is the concept of mutual induction and mutual inductance, which we call as coefficient of mutual induction also. Now coefficient of mutual inductance of 2 long coaxial solenoids. So you see, we have taken, this is the primary, the black one, through which current is passing, and the secondary one, you see, as I said already, it is magnetically coupled, and we are considering the common length of both the solenoid, let it be L. Okay, now you see, when current will pass through the primary, then a magnetic field will develop. What will be the magnetic field develop? It is given by mu 0 N1 L I1, isn't it? Now N1 by L, you can write small n1 also, number of turns per unit length of the primary. So you see, what will be the magnetic flux associated with the secondary? It will be magnetic field produced by the primary multiplied by A. Here A is the common cross-sectional area Alright, so you can write it as mu 0 N1 I1 A by L. So what is the coefficient of mutual induction or mutual inductance? We have already got N2 phi 2 by I1. So if you substitute phi 2 and if you substitute phi 2, then you are getting mu 0 N1 into I1 A divided by L. And I1 is there already, so I1 get cancelled. So what is the expression for coefficient of mutual inductance of two coaxial solenoid mu 0 N1 into A by L? This final result is important, as well as derivation is also important. Remember, the derivation is few steps, but when you are writing, you can write like this only, but don't forget to mention what does B1 represent, what does phi 2 represent, like this. I have just said it verbally, I have not written, but when you will do the derivation in exam, you are supposed to write that. Just like I said, what is B1? Magnetic field produced due to current passing through the primary. What is phi 2? Magnetic flux associated with each turn of the secondary. Okay, like that you should write down the sentence and then do the derivation. But please do learn the derivation for coefficient of self-inductance of a solenoid, single solenoid, as well as coefficient of mutual inductance of two long coaxial solenoids. And what is the final result we have got? That mutual inductance is given by mu 0 N1 into A by L, where N1 and N2 is the total number of turns in the primary and secondary, and one can write N1 by L as small n1 also. So in that case it will be mu 0 small n1 big N2 A, and small n1 is the number of turns per unit length of the primary, and N2 is the total number of turns of the secondary. Now the concept of eddy current. Already you got it in 10th standard while teaching you transformer. I gave you the detailed concept of eddy current. So what is that? We know that whenever the magnetic flux linked with the closed coil or closed circuit changes, then EMF will be induced in the coil, alright, due to electromagnetic induction. Now instead of a closed coil or closed circuit, suppose you have taken one conductor, metallic coin suppose you have taken. Now if the magnetic flux linked with the conductor changes, then within the conductor an EMF will be induced and current will pass in the form of a whirlpool. So this current induced within a conductor due to magnetic flux, due to change in magnetic flux linked with the conductor is known as eddy current. Alright, what is eddy current? What I said, the current induced in a conductor due to change in magnetic flux linked with the conductor is known as the eddy current. Alright, and you know that eddy current, sometimes these are useful to us, sometimes it is harmful to us. In case of transformer, eddy current was harmful. I hope you can remember, in case of transformer what happens, that when the current is passing through the two coils, then in the core of the transformer eddy current develop. And how we reduce the eddy current, I hope you can remember, using thin laminated soft iron core, isn't it? We reduce the eddy current, but sometimes eddy currents are useful to us also. By using the eddy current, concept of eddy current, we can produce damping. What is the meaning of damping? You have seen sometimes when we will use, although sorry you are not using, you have not used it, you have not done any practical only. In the practical class, sometimes you will feel, sometimes you will see that it happens that galvanometer, the pointer, it has attained the null point, means it has attained the zero value, but till the pointer takes some time to come into rest. Alright, in that case we use the concept of eddy current. By using the eddy current, the motion of the pointer of the galvanometer is damped, so that momentarily only it can attain the rest position. That is known as damping. In damping, then in induction motor, induction furnace, electric bakes, the concept of eddy currents are used. Alright, so that's all about the electromagnetic induction chapter. While discussing the chapter, the topics I said important for your board exam, kindly learn it, remember it, practice it. Thank you girls, that's for all today.